Director of Digital News Media at Signal Media. And in case you didn't know, Signal is the official news outlet of AFCEA International. This spring, we started our Disruptive by Design podcast from Signal to highlight people under 40 in the military information technology world, a group that we call emerging leaders. It's an opportunity for them to share insights and advice. In this episode of Disruptive by Design, I'm speaking with Chris Hassett. Chris is an executive director at ManTech in charge of product delivery. He oversees an impressive portfolio at ManTech and leads about 33 people. He says he's created an environment for his team where they can excel and be creative and try things out, failing softly, which is, I like that concept, failing softly. And as a result of the atmosphere he's built with his team, he has a very low attrition rate from his team where people want to stay and contribute. This, I think, is no small feat in information technology these days where, companies and organizations, the military, the government are all competing for technologists. And it's interesting, Chris started out in the Army in field artillery. He never dreamed that he would be now an executive director in information technology. So he's a testament that you can be an Army soldier, be a field artillery specialist, and that you can move from that area or infantry into the tech world. So I love how he talked about that and kind of described his journey. He's a humble guy and he shares his passion for leadership and how in pursuing his college degree through all this, he overcame multiple attempts. I think he said 4 attempts to finish his college degree over, the last 2 decades. And how he started out studying criminal justice and then moved into information technology. And now this fall, he's pursuing his master's degree in organizational leadership from American Military University. And he also was recognized by AFCEA recently as one of this year's 40 under 40 award winners. So he's definitely one to watch out for. And he offers great advice about joining the military for young people, the foundational aspects it provides, and then just his advice about, being in information technology world. Of course, it's about solutions and technology, but at the end of the day, for him, it's about leadership and people. And with that, welcome to Disruptive by Design with Chris Hassett. All right, Let's start there.
Okay. For me, I grew up a military brat. My dad served 31 years in the Navy. And we spent a lot of time in Japan. I was there from the time I was about 5th grade until I graduated high school. We moved after I graduated in 2001. We moved to China Lake, California, and I started going to college there with focus and intent on becoming a law enforcement officer. I was a criminal justice major. And then, unfortunately, right in the middle of my first attempt at college, my first semester, 9/11 happened. And, lockdown on the base for quite a bit, not understanding what's going on. My dad wasn't home. He was, on alert, so to speak. And that really started changing the mindset of what I was doing. And when I got back to college, once classes resumed, the instructor asked me, what is it you're doing here? What do you want to accomplish? And I said, I think I still want to be a law enforcement officer. And he said, you're not going to stand a chance going to college here. You should look into the military, and the military needs people more than ever now. So I was fortunate enough, interestingly enough, on a Navy base, the local Army recruiter only lived 2 doors down from us, and he worked with me. And by March of 2002, I was shipping off to Fort Sill, Oklahoma, as a 13 Mike, which is an MLRS crew member. It's field artillery. And about a year later, I was, March of 2003, was joining everybody en route to Iraq for what eventually became Operation Iraqi Freedom. And I was there just for a short stint, I think roughly 4 months before we got turned back because the war had really kind of lulled at that point, and there wasn't much use for a field artillery unit in Iraq anymore. So,
Oh, right. Wow, that's a lot. So do you regret not going into law enforcement, right? How has the military been versus that initial thought, I guess, as a young person to go into law enforcement?
yeah, that's pretty interesting. I don't know how controversial the statement might be, but thinking about the current state of affairs with law enforcement and society, that helps me not regret it. It's a very tense, and I don't envy anybody in law enforcement. Great respect for them. It's just in today's society and the current temperament of society. It's an incredibly hard job. When I finished my first 3 years with the Army at Fort Sill, I got out. My dad was still in the Navy, had moved and got stationed in Pensacola, Florida. So I moved to Pensacola and I started a criminal justice track again at another college, and the Florida Army National Guard came knocking and said, "Hey, we see you just got out. We'd love to, recruit you back as a prior service member. You're probably using your GI Bill to go to college. We'll pay 100% of your tuition and let you maximize your return. Come talk to us." And by that time, I was looking for side jobs, and it was really hard for a field artillery guy to find a job that crossed over, especially in the Gulf Coast of Florida. So I made a deal with the recruiter. Find me something I can use on the outside, and that's actually what I think started the career I have today. And they reclassed me, and I signed a contract to become a 25 Bravo, which is a information technology specialist. So I spent paid my dues at Fort Gordon, reclassing in a TRADOC environment, and got the taste of active duty once again, and really liked it. And when I came back to Florida, I started looking for full-time guard positions, and I was fortunate enough to find a temporary assignment, a TDY assignment at the National Guard Bureau in Arlington, Virginia, back in, I think it was about January 2007. So I left Florida with full intent of coming back in 6 months, but honestly, I cut my teeth working on one of those initial projects, and I never went back to Florida. I mean, I've gone to visit, but I ended up planting my feet here and finding full-time assignments and staying here.
Oh, right. Interesting. And how hard was it to reclassify going to be, from being in field artillery to IT? And do you have any advice for people who might be facing the same thing, being in one field to the other in the Army?
The people I know from growing up today still are shocked that I am in the IT industry. It's nothing that I would have ever thought for myself. But you can't be afraid to try something new. If you're not willing to take risks and push the envelope, then you can probably expect to accept the status quo. And nothing's going to change. So I never thought myself to be, a ones and zeros type guy to go into the technical, and some would argue I'm still not. But there's taking that risk, and the Army provides the basics, right? The foundation. You don't walk out of there automatically an IT expert with 10, 15 years of experience. You've got the basic foundation. You qualify for jobs, and a lot of that was entry level. So you have to keep pushing the envelope. And I think the TDY assignment that I I was able to get up in Arlington, really started the experience aspect of it, of being able to apply real world experience and understand what it's like to be in the technology field.
Right, sure. And I guess when I think of the National Guard, I didn't know that they had full-time positions like that. So how did that all work? And did that surprise you that that was available? And then I guess how long did you stay in the Guard?
I I knew that there were, the Active Guard and Reserve program, the AGR. A lot of folks will tell you, they're coveted positions, especially down at the state level. There are not a lot of openings there, but while the National Guard does 1 week in a month, 2 weeks a year, somebody still has to be there full time to keep the lights on, so that
Right.
everything's ready when folks come back. Now, the National Guard Bureau is that federal level entity here in the DC region over in Arlington, that has in recent years, I might be dating myself, it's probably 10 or more years now, where they finally had their first four-star general and presence on the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
Mm.
That entity is there to kind of liaise between the states and the federal service, federal government. And, they have a big presence out there in Arlington. I think some of it bleeds over into the Pentagon. And, it's amazing to see this giant Title X force that's there specifically to support, the 54 states and territories, District of Columbia. I think the last time I checked, the National Guard was 350,000 some odd strong, I think.
Yeah.
That number might be dated as well. But it takes a force to be able to take care of these folks and keep the lights on, keep them trained, keep them relevant, for if and when they need to be activated and serve their mission.
Right. And what were some of your early IT projects that you experienced kind of in the early role, kind of or the early days of that role when you went to them?
The first project was essentially helping the HR directorate at the National Guard Bureau take paper records and convert them over to a digital system. So there was a team of maybe 12 of us, I think. A couple from my own unit, we all did our packets together to apply, and we came up and we sat in these offices day in and day out, just plugging away, going through people's personnel records and transferring the paper records of, assignments, awards, schools, all these things over into a digital system. Now, I mean, that's data entry. It's not an incredibly challenging task for an IT person, or any person for that matter. But I think being there and getting the exposure was more networking than anything. And once that 6 months was up, I had met so many people, and I was fortunate enough that I was offered a Title X position to work for the Web Services branch of the Army National Guard Bureau. And I was working on GKO, which was Guard Knowledge Online. There's tons of stuff out there. The Army, Air Force, AKO, AFKO, NKO, JKO, and Guard Knowledge Online was a Microsoft SharePoint based portal. And I was brought on to work in the operations portion of the Web Services branch. I was working for a extremely, and a highly regarded, extremely seasoned professional, Chief Fontenez, who took me under her wing, and she put a lot of blind faith and trust in me, and I think she saw potential in me. But I essentially became a project manager overnight, just diving in and working with contractors and Microsoft reps on maintaining the system, understanding server architecture and all these things. And I just lived and breathed it every day, and would sit and do left seat, right seat stuff with contractors going, hey, I know we pay you to do this, but I'd really like to know how to do it too. So why don't we do this together? And we would sit in offices. We'd set up a projector in an office and just project the screen on the wall and just sit there. And they'd let me build servers and walk me through things. And it was an incredible experience. And I think that was the launching point.
Right. I love hearing that. And then tell us about your current role at ManTech as the executive director of product delivery. That sounds kind of cool. Tell us what you do and kind of what you're working on and any challenges kind of you're working through.
Sure. I've been with ManTech about 7 years now. I first left the military back in 2011 and did a stint with SRA International, which is actually no longer a company through acquisition. Did a stint with Hewlett Packard, working and supporting Department of Homeland Security, and then in 2016 arrived at ManTech. Fortunate enough to take on an initial role as a product manager for one commercial off-the-shelf software product that ManTech has had in existence for 20 plus years, something called Centris. And it's the way I would describe it is it's a data labeling classification, access wizard. So, with all the news today about, data leaks, classification, classified spills and things like that, this software has been in existence for 20 years to kind of guide a user and protect from themselves on making mistakes and leaking stuff, making recommendations on buzzwords that maybe hit in a document or an email saying, hey, you've used this. This is a sensitive word. You might we're going to recommend that you classify it this way. And we're going to ensure that when you do send this out or share this out, we're going to verify the recipients and their access. And if they're not cleared for that particular data set, we're not going to deliver it to them. It's not going to go to them, and they're not going to be able to access it. And that was really kind of a turning point. I spent most of my time working on SharePoint just based off of my initial project at GKO, and now I'm working on, a commercial off-the-shelf product and working with a team to develop stuff. And now we have taken at ManTech all of the commercial proprietary products that have been developed right here at ManTech and put them under one portfolio. And now all those products are in one portfolio, and I'm fortunate enough to be able to lead that portfolio. So we have acquisition software, we have classification software, we have hypervisor software, a lot of cool things. And when I first came on board, there was probably about 10 of us. And now I have a team of 33 plus that all work day in and day out to deliver these awesome products that help our customers with some of their most critical national security missions.
Very cool. And then, so with this team of 33 plus people, kind of how do you set the culture? How do you encourage high performance? How do you ignite creativity, especially around kind of the portfolio of software and solutions you have?
I try not to brag too much. I try to remain humble, but I am proud that my particular team, just through growth and stuff, we have really a net zero voluntary attrition rate, and I think it's not all me. Sure, I'm leading the portfolio, and leadership sets the tone, and that affects and permeates through the team. But it's a team that's motivated by success. It's a team that I emphasize on them that don't be afraid to fail. I'm here to help you fail. I heard one of our leaders here at ManTech use the term "fail softly." I impress upon my team that you should trust your instincts. I expect adults to be. I have a reasonable expectation that adults can be adults, and until you prove me otherwise, I'm not going to micromanage you. You know, you are the expert. I'm here to just enable you to do your job better, move things out of your way, or help you make the best decision. And in the absence of that, I trust you, you know, some of my line leaders that are leading other folks in our portfolio to make the best decisions that you can. And if the decision doesn't turn out to be the right decision, or you know, it's an issue, I know and have a reasonable expectation with my folks that the decision wasn't made out of, you know, malice or ignorance or anything like that. They took and made, you know, the best decision they can. And I think because the team feels empowered and supported there, and they're not afraid to make these mistakes, I think that gives them the comfort level to be able to, you know, move left, right, forward, up, down, back, whatever they need to do to get their job done. And they know that if they're going to miss something or they need help, we're all here to pitch in. You know, we're a team that works hard and plays hard. You know, we put a lot of emphasis on, especially during COVID, virtual happy hours and things like that to kind of build upon the camaraderie that we have to build as a team as well.
Right, that kind of lovely atmosphere, I think, goes a long way. It sounds like. And can you talk about? I think you started an inaugural veterans program at ManTech. Can you talk about that?
I wouldn't say I started it. I can't take that credit. But what we did do is a couple of years ago, we had the opportunity to partner with ServiceNow and work on a ServiceNow vets program to, you know, hire transitioning veterans over and train them for 6 months on ServiceNow, and make them experts, whether they were business analysts or ServiceNow application developers. And we did that program for 2 years. And it was remarkable. We were able to hire in some really high performing people here, and you know, much like me and what I said about, you know, going from field artillery to IT, one of the guys who's still here today, and actually we're in a peer organization now, was a Marine infantry guy coming out of the infantry, and now he's doing application development in ServiceNow, and he's killing it. And I think that goes back to what you asked is, you know, what's the recommendation for, you know, folks looking to kind of transition there, and you can't be afraid to take that risk. And I think that's what the program was all about. Of course, I have a very special place in my heart for veterans and helping them transition through and getting meaningful work on the outside, you know, post-military. So that program's great. We still have certain flavors of it. ManTech itself is comprised of just about 50% veterans anyway, and we're very proud of that. And now we see more focus on, you know, transitioning veterans, and then also the Skill Bridge program that's out there, which is a remarkable thing that the military is doing. I wish they had Skill Bridge back when I was in. It would have been incredible, just being able to allow folks in the military to ride out the remaining, you know, months of their time out there working and integrating with, you know, an industry leader.
Nice. And what are the, I guess, characteristics or, I don't know, qualities or leadership that you think the military gives someone just by being in the military that maybe you've been able to use in your role at ManTech? You know, obviously it's not a direct, you know, you're using your, you know, field artillery skills, but you know, what are those kind of more untangible things that you think that are helping you to succeed that you did gain from the military?
I think it's, you know, first and foremost is discipline. You know, discipline is the biggest thing in the military. Without discipline, you know, people get hurt. And you know, that's very important. I think the passion for a mission and understanding, you know, the camaraderie you build with a team. I mean, I've been in units with people that I really maybe didn't particularly care for, but because the mission was important, because it was part of the team, you know, those personal feelings had to go aside, right? And I think that allows you to kind of cope with people that may be difficult in industry. Industry is very, very different from the military, and there's an adjustment there, and you have to figure out the delicacy of having the soft skills of working with people that are not necessarily trained killers, if you will, right?
Yeah.
And then the leadership aspect. I've a couple of times I've been approached, and how you have a career in IT, and maybe I do have a career in IT because I'm in the IT industry, but I think based off of the military and everything I learned, I think my career has more been in leadership. And while I've been able to sit down and work on servers years ago, and I don't do that anymore, I've through project management and now becoming, an executive director of a division, if you will. My career has really been focused on leadership, and I think it's, the military has really instilled all the skills necessary to be able to, make decisions and guide people and lead people. And it's been a really incredible journey.
Right, sure. And then tell us about kind of how you then went to do your schooling at AMU, the American Military University. And how did you do that? And how did you balance that with work and life and all that?
My fourth attempt at college. Yeah, so trying to go to school after I graduated high school, and found a different calling, and then after I got out of the Army the first time off of active duty, and then again. So it's been a 20-year journey, and I've chipped away at progress here and there. I've been fortunate enough to have experience, training, certifications, things that come through with I think, I don't know if they still call it that, an arts transcript that, universities recognize and give you transfer credit to kind of accelerate. But, it was finally time to sit and do. I was hovering, I think a couple of years ago, I was hovering around 60 credit hours, and, I had to meet that 122, and I had a program deadline coming up. And I said, this is it. This is the time. This is the time to sit and buckle down and do it. And I would start, through AMU, which is an incredible institution. They really cater to folks like, just like me, that are veterans, that are full-time working, husbands and dads and things like that. And I would take a class load of about 2 classes per semester. And work in the evenings. I spent a lot of Sundays, sequestered in my home office working on stuff, and it was just a matter of keeping going. And there were a lot of folks at AMU that were motivated to see my progress and were coaching me along the way. Their staff is amazing. Really, really rooting for me, going, you're almost there. And last year, I was fortunate enough to be done and, go walk across that stage and finally become, the first college graduate in my immediate family, between my parents and my younger brother. Really, really awesome accomplishment. And they really pulled out the red carpet to celebrate that with the commercials and stuff like that, which was really an awesome experience in of itself.
Aw, very cool. Very cool. Yeah, so do you feel, I guess, proud and relieved that you're done and now tackling other challenges?
I was proud and relieved that I was done when it was done, and then I just, the part of me of like I felt I wasn't finished, and not long after that, I've enrolled in a master's program because
I
I
love it.
I'm maybe a glutton for punishment, and we'll start working on that. But I've chosen to at least take a little bit of a break and enjoy the family time, enjoy a bit of a work-life balance. But I think come the fall time, I'll crack open the books and start working toward that and knocking a master's out. But
Oh, nice.
I think it'll stop there. No PhD for me.
No, Dr. Hassett.
I mean, I like the sound of it, but
Right.
I can't see I can't
Yeah,
see it
that's a much longer commitment.
very much.
And so what are you getting your master's in and where are you studying?
So I am returning to AMU,
Nice.
Military University, and my bachelor's is in IT management. And going back to what I mentioned about, I think my career has been more in leadership. They have a master's program that is, through their School of Business that is focused on organizational leadership, which I think is very interesting to me. To learn how to build upon my skills to continue to grow my career. I've got a lot of years ahead of me. It feels like I've been working forever, but I just recently turned 40 actually last month. So I have a few more years to give to society as a working adult. I am fortunate enough to right now report to our dual-hatted CIO CTO. I get a lot of the great exposure to the C-suite of ManTech, understanding what it takes to be a C-suite officer, if you will, and that's very interesting to me. And understanding how one does become a CIO CTO, and what more can I build upon myself to grow me, grow my team, grow the business. And I think that's really what the organizational leadership aspect of this program will focus on, especially since it's coming out of the School of Business.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, and to lead in business, over the next decades, when the world is such a tumultuous place right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that does sound fascinating. Yeah, good luck with that.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then you mentioned turning 40, and you were a recipient of AFCEA's 40 Under 40, which recognizes, go-getters, I think. And you were an award winner this year. Tell us a little bit about that. I know you're a humble guy, but why do you think AFCEA picked you as one of our 40 Under 40?
Because ManTech wrote an exceptional nomination. They did, though. ManTech, and their support for me, and their cheerleading of me as a younger established leader with the company. They've given me chances. I've taken the chances. I've never been afraid to take on more. I think that speaks to, the portfolio that I have now has grown substantially in the last 7 years that I've been here. And I think it's, from the risks and chances that I was willing to take when, maybe others weren't, ready for it or weren't interested in it. And the experience that I've had through the military and all that, and being able to come in and lead the people that I'm fortunate enough to lead every day, I think really spoke to it. There aren't a lot of folks, I think, necessarily my age that are probably in executive positions. Maybe there is some, I don't know. But I think it really kind of spoke to, the panel at AFCEA being able to look and go, okay, maybe this guy's got a little bit of something, even though I barely made the cutoff. The award ceremony was one day before my 40th birthday. So I just made it, which was awesome too. So maybe there was a little bit of pity there on the panel's part too. And this guy won't have another chance. But I joke about that. Again, my organization, the folks that I have the privilege to lead, I'm not the youngest team member, but I'm also not the oldest, right? And a lot of them affectionately refer to me as Boss Baby, which I think is hilarious. It's funny, but I think their support and their drive for success really speaks to their success is my success, and I think that's really why the panel could see in the write-up how influential and how much of a game changer we've become for the company.
Right. Very cool. Very cool. Well, congratulations on that. That's awesome.
Thank
And
you.
I can't speak to my colleagues down the hall that run the awards programs, but they're serious people and they'll take a hard look at things and they don't just let anybody by. So I imagine they were quite impressed with you.
That's good to know.
And what advice would you have for young people? People, who are under 40 or even younger, about, a career in IT or just any advice, I guess.
Network, and take the risks. Going back to the network, I thought about this as we were, um, scheduling to do this. Is AFCEA. I've only been a member of AFCEA for a handful of years, and I've been in the industry through the military and private sector, since 2007 at least. And I didn't know a lot about it. And now, I would say if you're young and you're out there, like continue, the membership is worth it, continue to network. After the 40 under 40 awards last month in Baltimore, it was interesting. I ran into like four officers that I had served with at the National Guard Bureau, and I hadn't seen them in probably 10 years. And all of us were, doing different things out of the military, retired or ETS. And, we were all just kind of talking to each other. And then I ran into other people that were in industry that I knew from years ago. And it's just amazing to be able to run into this network of folks that, their character, in terms of collaborating on solutions, or, finding, intersecting business and opportunities to kind of make the national security mission or the defense mission more successful. And, these are folks that would also be able to, like I said, speak to character and offer you opportunities, for growth or in other organizations. I've been very, very loyal, a loyal employee of ManTech, having been here 7 years, and it's the longest I've been with a company since I left the military, which I think speaks to them. But being able to run into folks and know how they act under pressure, how they act in a work environment, and just understand. I think that speaks highly of the networking opportunities. And when you take something like AFCEA and the conferences and events you guys have, you're going to run into these people. And I think there's an onslaught of opportunities, business opportunities, growth opportunities, networking opportunities that just come out. And I think for young people, they need to start that now, because in 10, 15 years, they're going to run into those folks again. And it might be the right point in time for them to run into them and, collaborate on an opportunity.
Right, sure. And what would you say to young people about why they should serve in the military? I know anything is kind of what you put into it, but what can the military offer young people today?
I think it's a sense of pride and duty and understanding. I think it's an incredible. I don't know how bad it sounds if I say that it's an incredible tool, but I'm going to say it's an incredible tool. The military is an incredible tool to shape you, to go out and be a professional. There's a lot that's asked of you as a young person when you raise that right hand, and you're only 18 years old, and they're willing to give you a weapon or weapons or heavy machinery, and you have to learn responsibility, accountability, and the responsibility and accountability is not only so you don't get in trouble, but again, so people don't get hurt or killed. And I think that allows people to understand how to take missions and business seriously, and how to perform under pressure. And I think those are remarkable skill sets that would serve you well, whether you do 20 years, 30 years, 3 years, and take a step outside and trying something different, and going into industry or going into the private sector, or going, wherever it is you want to go or what you want to be when you grow up, right?
Right. Yeah. Very cool. And then what advice do you have for more senior leaders about maybe what they should take notice of, or anything about kind of your generation coming up that's important for them to understand?
Yeah, I saw this back when we started the veteran program that you mentioned, is um, young veterans, young transitioning veterans. I think AMU went on a campaign calling it called "Service is a Skill," and I think service is a skill. And I think if you look at somebody coming out of the military and you go, "Oh, okay, they don't have the relevant experience that I'm looking for," I would bet you a paycheck that they would be a top performer regardless of the experience that you were looking for. And I think for senior leaders, for companies, put more emphasis on hiring veterans. I think it will, I know it will serve you well in terms of hiring and bringing on consummate professionals that would be passionate for the mission. Not to disparage those who are taking the college straight out of high school route. But I think the discipline, leadership, and dedication to mission, those skills are very important, very transferable to almost any job. And I think that's very important for senior leaders to continue to understand and roll down through the ranks, hiring managers and things like that.
Right, sure. And then being in the tech field, how do you keep yourself abreast of changes or solutions, or it's the constant flow of breakthroughs? Right now it's a generative AI, and how do you kind of stay on top of the industry or understanding what the solutions are that are available?
It's funny you said generative AI, because my initial gut reaction is I just ask Chat GPT questions all day, um, which isn't a lie, but it's, I think there's a lot that we learn on the job based off of emerging threats and the evolution of technology, and a lot of, especially in industry, government agencies asking for new and refreshed tech, and through training, ManTech offers tremendous training and education benefits. Those are the things that you have to do to continue to sharpen your skill. You can't rest on your laurels. You can't. I've got a Security Plus certification that's from, probably 13 years ago. And, I can't rest on that going, hey, I'm a trained professional. I would hope that the Security Plus exam is much, much different than it was 12 years ago. And, so trying to stay on top of emerging technologies through, certifications, training programs, webinars. I think, I see numerous events where AFCEA, you guys put on, industry experts and government experts that are talking about new and emerging things. I think you have to be involved in all of it.
Right, that's good advice. Jump in, be involved in all of it.
Right.
And I could fire you questions all day, Chris. It's such a pleasure speaking with you. Anything else you wanted to highlight?
No, this is awesome. I just appreciate that, the interest and, the opportunity to be able to share my story. Again, I try to be, I hope it doesn't sound pretentious when I say I try to be humble, but, I like being able to share my story because I know I am not a one-off. I know there are many others that have gone through the military, or are still in the military and looking to cross over to industry. And I think me coming from the field artillery and being able to transition over to the tech industry, is, if I can do it, anybody can do it. And really just challenge yourself, take that risk, don't be afraid to take that leap and try something new, because you can find success. And I'm thankful every day for the success I've been able to realize just from taking that leap.
Oh, that's amazing. And wonderful encouragement to anybody who's in field artillery now. You can make it.
Yes.
Chris is living proof.
Put down your rockets, put down your cannons, and grab a keyboard.
Oh, I love that. Well, thanks again for your time today, Chris, and good luck in everything at ManTech and in your degree, your next degree. That's amazing.
Thank you so much. This was awesome to do. I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks.